He went in for a simple checkup and never came out. It was a Tuesday morning, one of those calm, ordinary days when nothing feels out of place. The kind of day that gives no warning. Jonathan Adams, 41 years old, walked into the clinic with a smile. He had just dropped his daughter off at school and had planned to stop by the hospital for a quick checkup. Nothing serious. Just a few headaches that had come and gone for weeks. "I'm sure it's stress," he told the nurse, waving off her concerned look. "My job's been intense lately. A couple of Advils and I'll be fine." The receptionist handed him a clipboard. The usual questions: do you smoke? Any history of heart disease? Allergies? He scribbled through the form quickly, barely paying attention. He had plans later that day: lunch with his wife, a work call, and his daughter's ballet recital. He never planned to stay, but the hospital had other plans. In the exam room, the doctor pressed the stethoscope against his chest. "Heart rate's a bit irregular," she said. Jonathan chuckled. "Probably from chasing after my daughter this morning." The doctor didn't smile. She ordered some quick tests: blood pressure, ECG, and blood work. "Just to be sure," she said. Jonathan agreed, but unease started to settle in his chest. He texted his wife, "Running a bit late. They're just doing some extra tests, nothing major," but then things escalated. The nurse returned with a strange look on her face. "The doctor wants to see you again." This time she didn't ask him to sit on the exam table. She sat beside him. "Jonathan, we found something." A long pause. "There's evidence of a cardiac event, a small one, a silent heart attack. Have you felt any chest pain recently?" Jonathan blinked. "No, I mean just some pressure. But I thought that was indigestion. What was supposed to be an hour." The doctor insisted he stay for observation. "Just a few hours, we'll monitor you. It's precautionary." He hesitated. He had places to be: his daughter's performance, his family, but he agreed. "Just a few hours," he told himself. He texted his wife again. "Staying for observation, might miss the recital, I'll make it up to her, promise." That was the last message he sent. An hour passed, then 2. His wife, worried, tried calling. No answer. She drove to the hospital, expecting to find him in a waiting room, scrolling through his phone. But when she arrived, they wouldn't let her see him. "He's with the cardiology team," they said. "Please wait." An emergency had been triggered behind closed doors. Jonathan had gone into cardiac arrest. In a room full of professionals surrounded by machines and medications, his body had betrayed him. His wife sat in the waiting area for 3 hours before someone came. Not a doctor, a counselor. Her face said everything. "I'm sorry. We did everything we could." Time froze. "He just came in for a checkup," his wife whispered. "He was fine this morning." But the truth was, Jonathan's body had been hiding its pain. The stress, the irregular sleep, the quiet warning signs he'd ignored, they had all been building to this moment. 3 weeks later, his wife returned to the hospital to collect his belongings. She met the doctor who had seen Jonathan that day. "I keep thinking," the doctor said, eyes lowered, "what if he had come in sooner?" But the truth is, many people don't, especially men, especially when the signs are silent. Jonathan's story became one of many in the hospital's internal review board, a reminder of how the quietest symptoms can scream the loudest, if we listen. His daughter kept asking, "Why didn't Daddy come home?" And every time his wife struggled to answer. Because how do you explain that sometimes, even surrounded by experts and machines, life slips away? She began speaking at health awareness events, telling people Jonathan's story. She said, "He wasn't weak. He wasn't careless. He was just busy, like all of us." But his body was calling for help long before he listened. 2 months after Jonathan's death, a letter arrived in the mail. It was addressed to his wife, Angela Adams, but the sender wasn't a friend or family member, it was the hospital. Inside was an envelope marked confidential and a brief note. "For your records, contact the medical review office if you have questions." Angela's hands trembled as she opened it. Inside were photocopied documents, lab results, doctor's notes, then a strange internal memo with the subject line, "Delayed reporting, patient 2241A, Jonathan." Angela brought the letter to her family doctor. He read it in silence, eyes narrowing at key lines. Preliminary ECG flagged possible ischemia. Second opinion recommended before admission. Lab work suggestive of troponin elevation. Test flagged urgent, but transmission delay noted. Angela's voice cracked. Are you saying they knew? The doctor hesitated. They saw signs, but it looks like the results didn't reach the right hands fast enough. Jonathan didn't die because of just his heart. He died in a system too slow to catch up. Angela couldn't sleep. Her husband had trusted the system. He did what he was supposed to do, and yet, he never came out. She filed a formal request to access the hospital's internal report. After 3 weeks, she got a call, not from a receptionist, but from a whistleblower. Mrs. Adams, I don't know how much I can say, the voice whispered, but there's a nurse who flagged your husband's results and before he crashed. Angela froze. What happened to the alert? It was overridden, marked as non-urgent by mistake. A mistake that had cost Jonathan everything. Angela walked through the hospital that took her husband. Every hallway whispered. She met the nurse, the one who had flagged the early signs. I tried to push it up the chain, the nurse said, tears in her eyes, but the system is slow, files wait in line, protocols take time. But my husband didn't have time, Angela said. The nurse nodded. I know. Angela started digging. She learned Jonathan wasn't the only one. 3 other patients had suffered silent events that were misdiagnosed or delayed in the same quarter. She met one of the families. A 59-year-old man with mild chest pain had walked in and never left. The hospital quietly settled with the family. Angela realized this was bigger than one mistake. It was a pattern. It had been 6 months since Jonathan Adams passed away in a hospital room meant for healing, not for goodbyes. Yet his presence lingered in the corridors of St. Mercy Hospital. Not as a ghost, but as a question. One no one could shake, Doctor. Lena Madhu, the physician who saw him last, hadn't been the same. She stayed later, asked more questions. She even started looking back through old files. One day, while reviewing his case yet again, she noticed something she'd missed. It was in the ECG, minute almost invisible. A signature pattern that didn't match a standard cardiac event. Her heart skipped. Could it have been something else? She sent the results to a former colleague, Dr. Samir Patel, an electrophysiologist now working abroad. Within 2 hours, he called back. Lena, that pattern, those spikes, this looks like early signs of Brugada syndrome. She froze. But he had no family history. Most don't, Samir replied. It's rare and silent, until it isn't. Brugada, a genetic heart rhythm disorder, deadly, invisible, often missed, until a sudden death. Was Jonathan's passing not a simple cardiac arrest, but a ticking time bomb that was always there? Lena wrote a letter, not to her superiors, but to Jonathan's wife, Angela. She met her in the same hospital cafe where Angela had waited 6 months ago. Only now the tone was different. I need to tell you something I should have seen earlier, Lena said gently. She handed her the file, the notes, the evidence. Angela read through it, silent. Then she asked only one question. If we had known, could we have stopped it? Lena didn't lie. Maybe, maybe not. But we would have tried. Angela had Jonathan's daughter tested. The results came in a week later. Positive. She had inherited the same gene, the same silent condition. But this time, they caught it. Medication, monitoring, lifestyle changes, all put in place early. Because Jonathan's death had left behind more than questions. It left behind a warning, one that saved his little girl's life. Months later, Angela stood on stage at a national cardiology conference invited by Dr. Lena herself. She shared Jonathan's story, not as a tragedy, but as a call to action. If you think you're too busy for a checkup, remember my husband. If your child has unexplained fainting spells or family history of heart issues, get the test. Don't wait for the scream, listen to the whisper. And in the crowd, doctors and students wrote notes, nodded, and most importantly, remembered. The hospital added a new protocol to its checkup procedures. a risk screen for rare cardiac disorders like Brugada. They called it the Adams Alert. It was subtle, quiet, like the man himself, but it became a whisper that could save hundreds, maybe thousands, because Jonathan Adams may have never walked out of that hospital, but his story did, and it spoke loudly. It's been over a year since Jonathan Adams walked into the clinic for what was supposed to be a simple checkup. His name is no longer just written on a chart or remembered in quiet sorrow. It lives on, in new medical procedures, in awareness talks, in a daughter who now has a future because her father's past became a warning no one could ignore. Angela visits the hospital less now. But when she does, she walks past the wing where it all happened. She no longer cries when she hears the beeping monitors or sees the familiar white coats. Instead, she smiles faintly, knowing that Jonathan's story has saved others. She stops briefly at the new poster on the wall. It reads, "Every symptom matters. Every moment counts." Beneath it, in small print, this awareness protocol was inspired by Jonathan Adams, whose story reminded us all, never ignore the whispers. If Jonathan's story moved you, if you believe stories like his deserve to be heard, then help us share them. Like this video to help others discover it. Comment your thoughts or share a similar experience. You never know who it might help. Subscribe to Hospital Whisperers for more real, suspenseful stories that matter. Share this with someone who might be putting off that checkup. Because sometimes, the quietest stories are the ones that save lives.